A Diversity Workplace Guide. Chapter 1. Discrimination and Work. Discrimination and Work. Discrimination is persecuting someone because of their religion, race, sex, color, disability, national origin, sexual orientation, or gender. Women probably get more discrimination than any other minority in the workplace, what with glass ceiling, limits to how high they can be promoted to, and the general inequity with pay for equal work. It's a two-way street though. Some people are overly sensitive and react too harshly to workplace criticism, thinking it's discrimination based when it isn't, and some people who are poor workers with bad attitudes, like to play the discrimination card to keep away from the true issue, their substandard work habits. There are federal and state statutes in place that deal with employment discrimination, such as the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, federal level, and a state or municipal civil rights commission. When there is an allegation or complaint alleging discrimination in an area of work such as promotion, training, or performance evaluation against a member of recognized minority group, the commission to which he or she complained to, either state, federal, or both, will conduct an investigation. The standard for a finding of discrimination is that the individual was treated differently than others in the group. If so, the manager will be asked if he had a legitimate reason for having treated the worker differently. If he can't legitimately give a good reason, he will be found at fault and subject to some sanction, usually a fine, some goodwill to the worker, and the inception of some program to raise awareness regarding discrimination at the workplace. From a company's point of view, you should take these allegations seriously. If the EEOC makes a judgment against you, this paves the way for a civil lawsuit. Some employees bypass the EEOC and go straight for the lawsuit with a money-hungry lawyer. The upside for you is that these lawsuits take a long time to resolve in court. There's often a settlement beforehand. The downside is that any turkey in a minority group can file a discrimination lawsuit anytime they want, regardless of whether the incident happened or not, which is a headache for you either way, and if you lose, the judgment against you could be expensive. The current conventional wisdom is to have something in place regarding workplace discrimination, like a poster on the wall, a page on it in the company handbook, or a video which you show to all new employees. Get some diversity and multiculturalism posters for the workplace. If a worker goes to the boss with a complaint, bend over backwards to try to resolve it in-house without going to the EEOC or to civil court. Often, it's a perception issue. Some minorities see things differently than North Americans see them. North Americans are generally reserved and aloof. Many foreign cultures are more intimate and personal. When a minority feels he's getting left out at work, it may be just the normal way North Americans are, but he doesn't realize this. If you feel discriminated against, especially in the world of work, find your local disability groups and mount a legal challenge. Try not to be a loner. Get support through family, friends, and disability groups. The problem with the Federal Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC, as well as complaints filed through local human rights offices, is that they're publicly funded organizations with finite resources and an overabundance of cases. Investigations, hearings, court rulings, and enforcement take time, and often by the time they're resolved, the person has moved on to another phase of his life. They also emotionally tax the disabled person filing the suit. Civil suits filed directly against an employer by a disabled person's attorney often proceed much faster than government-backed actions, particularly if you have a clear-cut case of discrimination. Many companies would rather settle out of court than have the negative publicity of discrimination against a disabled person. If the complaint is not that simple and it is uncertain whether the disabled person can win, some companies will fight it in order to send a message to all possible future litigants looking to file a suit against them. Their team will try to discredit the disabled person any way they can. They will countersue, swamp his attorney with paperwork, burying him or her in motions, continuances, and appeals, which will hopefully, for them, keep the plaintiff tied up in court until he dies or drops the charges. Many people in business are ignorant to the laws, so they discriminate against disabled people all the time, often without realizing it. But in order to have a strong case, their discrimination must be blatant, directed at the disability itself, and be in front of witnesses, which is not all that common. Most discrimination takes place before the hiring process, where discrimination is difficult to prove, or in a back room somewhere with no witnesses around, when the boss calls the disabled employee a name or chews him out, making light of the disability, such as telling him he should quit and go on disability, or telling him he's useless. Discrimination is a tough area to define legally because of the many forms of subtle discrimination out there. For more information, refer to the Federal Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990, ADA, and many state statutes as well. People with illnesses or disabilities have a constitutional right to keep their job or a comparable one within the company, and the company must make reasonable accommodation for them. As long as someone is able and willing to carry out the essential tasks of his job, employers of more than 15 workers are bound by ADA to provide reasonable accommodation in the workplace, such as modifying work schedules or assignments and altering equipment, or providing handicap access to the facility. Should you sue your employer and win, you will be awarded back wages, including any promotions and benefits you forfeited. You're entitled to your old job, or, more commonly, to accept a cash settlement to compensate for unfair treatment. If you lose in civil court, you will have to personally pay off money in legal fees and court costs, which is why very few people sue unless they're pretty sure they have an airtight case. Caregivers and relatives, usually spouses of disabled or terminally ill people, are sometimes discriminated against in the workplace too, with their jobs threatened or promotions denied, which is illegal according to the Americans with Disabilities Act. Spouses of the seriously ill and workers with aging parents are often refused hiring, promotion, or choice assignments based on the employer's assumption that they will file large claims under the company medical benefits plan or miss a lot of work. Some managers erroneously think that if one of their workers lives with someone with AIDS, hepatitis, etc., they could contract the virus, bring it to work and spread it around based on these thoughts, which is illegal. The Federal Rehabilitation Act and the American with Disabilities Act/ADA protect people with HIV or AIDS from being discriminated against in the hiring and promotion processes, and from being terminated simply because they have the disease if it doesn't interfere with their performance. They can sue and win a lot of money in compensatory and punitive damages. Refer to the movie Philadelphia. If you feel that you have been discriminated against based on race, color, religion, sex, national origin, age, pregnancy, or disability, you could file a charge with the nearest Equal Employment Opportunity Commission office. If there are no offices near where you live, call Equal Employment Opportunity Commission 1801 LST NW Washington, D.C. 20507 800-669-3362 800-669-4000 800-800-3302 TTY 202-663-4264 EEOC.gov. Federal laws, executive orders, and selected federal grant programs bar discrimination in employment based on race, color, religion, sex, national origin, age and handicap. Information on how to file a charge of discrimination is available from U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission offices around the country. Call for more information about any federal employment laws. Another source of information or support is your local Human Rights Commission. The phone number is in the white pages of the telephone book under Government Listings. Union members should contact their local representative. You can find books about disabilities at #155.916, #362.4 or HV888 to HV3023 of your local library. Discrimination issues. The U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC, enforces Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, which prohibits employment discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, disability, or national origin, and for most jobs, age. During an interview, employers aren't allowed to ask any questions about these criteria or nose around in affairs that don't relate to the job, like if you're married, your criminal history or medical questions, unless they're directly pertinent to the job. The law basically applies to all businesses and organizations, public and private, in all manner of employment from hiring, performance to termination. The law applies to unions in all the ways they influence employment practices. Technically, the law protects whistleblowers, whistleblower.org, and any persons who expose discrimination or file a discrimination lawsuit from retaliation, but the reality can often be quite different. For the sake of the employers, I've read through some of workplace discrimination laws, and I will warn you upfront, if you do anything that isolates or subcategorizes some of your employees based on any of the above criteria, you could be guilty of discrimination. For example, if you start a rule that bans speaking any language other than English in the workplace, your one Hispanic employee could file a lawsuit saying that you're specifically discriminating against her. The courts will decide, so the point is to think before you do something that could get you in trouble. In order to prove discrimination, a person has to show that he belongs to a racial minority. He was qualified for a job where the employer was taking applicants. He was rejected. After the rejection, the position remained open and the employer continued to seek applications from other people. In some cases, a minority can bring on a discrimination case due to statistics, for example, that in the past 2 years, despite many minorities applying for jobs at a large company, there are very few minorities working there, or more minorities are disciplined or terminated than others. Companies aren't allowed to use built-in policies which preclude minorities, for instance, an aptitude test which doesn't really relate to the job but can be used to eliminate black people who historically score lower on them than whites. Affirmative action programs, defined as giving minorities extra consideration in hiring practices sometimes to fill quotas, is now under attack by both white and black people who feel it's only fair that everyone should go in with equal standing at the start. Sometimes white people file reports of reverse discrimination stating that they didn't get jobs or promotions they were qualified for because of affirmative action policies. Height and weight requirements can be illegal if they have no direct bearing on the job. Employers have an obligation to make reasonable accommodations to the religious needs of employees and prospective employees where such accommodations can be made without undue hardship on the conduct of the employer's business. There's room for interpretation here, but an example would be that if a Jewish person was supposed to work on Saturday, which is his Sabbath, the employer should give him the day off if it's no undue hardship to him. Gay people are not specifically protected from discrimination in a federal rights bill. However, some states like Connecticut, Hawaii, Massachusetts, and Wisconsin, over 100 municipalities and some corporations have enacted rights charters based on sexual orientation. The Equal Pay Act simply states that an employer can't pay men and women differently for doing essentially the same work, all other factors such as seniority, trade classification, skill level, etc. kept constant. If you feel you have been victimized by unequal pay because of your gender, you can file a private lawsuit and possibly file with the EEOC under sexual discrimination. The Uniformed Services Employment and Reemployment Rights Act protects military personnel from job discrimination when they return to civilian life. I have just stated the broad-based laws regarding discrimination in the workplace. More specific laws regarding your predicament are scattered all over the place: state laws, collective bargaining agreements, union rules, and the rules of your company. Furthermore, workplace law is constantly changing and evolving. Your best bet to educate yourself is to read up at the library about state laws and find out about the rules of your company. If you feel that you have been discriminated based on race, color, religion, sex, national origin, age, pregnancy, or disability, you should file a charge with the nearest Equal Employment Opportunity Commission office. If there are no offices near where you live, call Equal Employment Opportunity Commission 1801 LST NW Washington, D.C. 20507 800-669-4000 800-800-3302 TTY 202-663-4264. EEOC.gov. American Civil Liberties Union. 125, Broad Street. NYC 10004. 212-944-9800. ACLU.org. National Association of Working Women. 1430 West Peachtree Street. Number 610. Atlanta, Georgia, 30309. 404-876-1604. Fax, 404-876-1649. 800-522-0925. Hotline 925@igc.org. 925.org. Generally an advocacy group for women but helps men too in such work areas as sexual harassment, maternity leave or any job problems in general. Annual membership fee entitles you to their database of information. File with the EEOC as soon after the incident as possible. They will review your case, contact the alleged transgressor and make a determination. If he's guilty, they may try to resolve it between you two in peaceful manner. If that doesn't work, they may litigate and/or advise that you take legal action against him. Employment discrimination websites. EEOC.gov. EEOC.gov/stat/jobpat/E1 Instruct. Companies with 100 or more employees are required by law to fill out an annual Employer Information Report, Form EE0-1, which is a breakdown of their workforce by gender, race, and national origin. EEOC.gov/facts/howtofill.html, file a grievance or lawsuit. DiversityInc.com bestforemployment.com/opg/Equal Employment Opportunities Act 1972.html. 911labor.com. EEOC.gov, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. law.cornell.edu/topics/employment_discrimination.html. AFS-NPI-ShivarLaw.com, Maryland Civil Rights Attorney. amglaw.com/cm/fsdp/practice center/employment-employee/discrimination.asp, Los Angeles Work Discrimination Attorney. azlawhelp.org, Arizona. business.com/directory/law/practice_areas/labor_and_employment_law/discrimination. calchamber.com/hrc/topics/discrimination and harassment, California. caw.ca/whatwedo/women/index.asp. cep.ca/human_rights/equity_issues_e_html. gff.com/business/discrimination.htm. colorlands.com. colors.mayhost.org. diabetes.org/advocaki-and legal resources/discrimination/employment.jsp. dol.gov/dole/siteindex.htm. dol.state.nc.us/edb/edb.htm, Employment Discrimination Bureau. eeoc.gov/facts/fs-preg.html, facts about pregnancy discrimination. employee-issues.com/i_discrimination.htm. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/employment_discrimination. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/employment_non-discrimination_act. fraserlaw.com/practice-areas/employment-law.asp, Tulsa, OK. garlands-digest.com. hrc.org, Human Rights Campaign. hrresource.com. imdiversity.com/career_center.asp. Joshua Friedman ESQ.com, Discrimination Attorney. law.cornell.edu/topics/employment_discriminati. legaltarget.com. mapnp.org, Diversity Appreciation, Training, and Management. mentalhealth.samhsa.gov/publications/allpub/SMA0-3471/default.asp, filing an ADA employment discrimination charge /narc.freeservices.com. on.html. policyalternatives.ca. reverse-discrimination.com/disabled-discrimination.htm. ridiamondlaw.com, Employment Law Attorneys, Minnetonka, Minnesota. rogersemploymentlaw.com, San Francisco, California. Employment Law. schneiderwallace.com/practiceareas/employment.htm. steinmitchell.com, Virginia Employment Discrimination Attorneys. youth.eeoc.gov/discrim.html, Youth at Work, What is Employment Discrimination? zmag.com. Employment Discrimination Resources. Discrimination could be racism, sexism against women, homophobia, gay people, prejudice against disabled people, older people, people of a different religion, ethnicity or socioeconomic class. I found a few books on discrimination in employment at #331.6 or HT1521 at the library. If you're an employer, you might consider setting up a diversity workshop to remind people that you believe in equality and equity for all. If you feel you're a victim of discrimination in any area of life including employment and looking for an apartment, some resources are as follows. American Civil Liberties Union. 125, Broad Street. NYC 10004. 212-944-9800. ACLU.org. Bill of Rights Day Committee. POG 270205. Hartford, Wisconsin 53027. 262-670-9920. Fax 262-670-9921. bor@yourfreedoms.org. yourfreedoms.org. Center for Individual Rights. 1233 20th Street NW. Number 300. Washington, D.C. 20036. 202-833-8400. Fax 202-833-8410. cir@mail.wdn.com. cir-usa.org. Fights for People's Rights. Civil Rights Discrimination. Department of Health and Human Services. Washington, D.C. 20201. 202-619-0403. 800-368-1019. 800-537-7697. dhhs.gov. Civil Rights Hotline. 330 Independence Avenue, SW. Number 5514, North Building. Washington, D.C. 20201. 800-368-1019. Will help with information and any discrimination beefs except for sex discrimination. Commission on Civil Rights. 624 9th Street NW. Washington, D.C. 20425. 800-552-6843. 202-376-8513, Complaint Referral in D.C. 202-376-8116, TDD. 202-376-8128, Publications. 202-376-8312, Public Affairs. usccr.gov. Look in your telephone directory under U.S. Government, Civil Rights Commission. Civil Rights Hotline. 800-368-1019. Will help you if someone or some organization is abusing your civil rights. Commission on Civil Rights. 624 9th Street NW. Washington, D.C. 20425. 800-552-6843. 202-376-8513, Complaint Referral in D.C. 202-376-8116, TDD. 202-376-8128, Publications. 202-376-8312, Public Affairs. usccr.gov. Look in your telephone directory under U.S. Government, Civil Rights Commission. Mexican American Legal Defense Fund. 182 2nd Street. San Francisco, California, 94105. 415-543-5598. National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. 1397 Fulton Street. Brooklyn, New York, 11217. 718-789-3043. NAACP.org. National Urban League. 1111 14th Street Northwest. Washington, D.C. 20005. 202-898-1604. NUL.org. Panel Publishers. 7201 McKinney Circle. Frederick, Maryland, 21705. 800-638-8437. AspenPublishers.com. CD-ROM about employment discrimination. Puerto Rican Legal Defense Fund. 99 Hudson Street. 14th FL. NYC 10013. 212-219-3360. Native American Rights Fund. 1506 Broadway. Boulder, Colorado, 80302. 303-447-8760. Southern Poverty Law Center. 400 Washington Avenue. Montgomery, Alabama, 36104. 205-264-0286. TeachingTolerance.org. Women Employed. 22 West Monroe Street. Number 1400. Chicago, Illinois, 60603-2505. 312-782-3902. Promotes economic equity for women. Women's Legal Defense Fund. 1875 Connecticut Avenue. NW. Number 710. Washington, D.C. 20009. 202-986-2600. Diversity articles at themuse.com. themuse.com/advice/anti-racism-ed-work. themuse.com/advice/lgbtq-ed-work. themuse.com/advice/disability-and-work. themuse.com/advice/gender-and-work. themuse.com/advice/diversity-inclusion. themuse.com/advice/videos. themuse.com/advice/job-search-videos. themuse.com/advice/career-advice-videos. themuse.com/advice/career-story-videos. Chapter 2. A Diversity Workplace Guide. Diversity get a bad rap because it's special treatment over merit. I think the only people who deserve special treatment are disabled people. Everybody else should try to reach their potential. That's it. If you whine about some fictitious injustice, you're a loser. Every individual is a loner. You either make it on your own through your own efforts or you're a less than stellar human being. Real winners get to work. They don't go looking for a freebie. Success is not a human right, it is earned. Life is right here, right now. You either create it or you're a wimp. The AFL Center for Legal Equality, run by a law firm, America First Legal, aflegal.org/hotline. The AFL Center for Legal Equality is creating a hotline for citizens to report violations of their rights. If you have been victimized by woke politics in the workplace or at school, if you have been illegally discriminated against in the workplace or in search of a contract or government benefit under the guise of diversity, equity, inclusion, contact them. America First Legal is a civil rights organization, committed to defending the principle of full equality under the law. Articles for HR workers at diversity.social/blog/HR. Diversity articles for human resources professionals. A list of diversity blogs at diversity.social/bestdiversityblogs. Training.diversity.social, Diversity Social Impact Training. kcl.ac.uk/hr/diversity/index, Equality, Diversity, and Inclusion. equalityhumanrights.com/n/equality-act, Equality Act 2010. blogs.kcl.ac.uk/diversity, Diversity Digest. greatergood.berkeley.edu/topic/diversity, Greater Good Magazine. ggsc.berkeley.edu, Greater Good Science Center. Multiculturalism Trainer Occupational Training School websites. basicdiversity.com, Basic Diversity, a diversity training and consulting company that helps companies and organizations develop, maintain, and implement diversity programs. Canning.com, Canning, help business and professional people to break through the barriers of culture, language, and set patterns of thinking. Crossculmanagement.com, Cross Cultural Management Co., Limited, teaches people to learn to identify and deal with the barriers that face any cross-cultural team and build a team with increased assertiveness, accountability, and understanding. DiversityProgram.net, Hennington and Associates, a US-based company that implements and manages workforce diversity initiatives. Global-Neighborhood.org, Global Neighborhood, a US-based nonprofit organization that seeks to provide long-term, holistic, relational support to refugees who are resettling into Spokane City. GreatBlackSpeakers.com, Great Black Speakers, LLC, an African American speakers organization that helps colleges, corporations, and associations find a diverse set of speakers for keynote, conference and training events. Knowledge-Must.com, Knowledge Must, China and India-based organization. Komensky.net, Komensky Center for Intercultural Development, Jordan-based company offering a wide range of intercultural services, including an Arabic language program, workshops, and articles on Arabic culture. NewWorldSynergy.com, New World Synergy Diversity Consulting, Denver-based. RedRoadLeadership.us, Red Road Leadership, provides culturally competent training and consultation services to tribes, urban Indian organizations, nonprofits and government agencies. TTMitchellConsulting.com, TT Mitchell Consulting, Diversity, Management and Employee Relations training to help businesses and people be better by teaching employees at all levels how to work with each other. Warwick.ac.uk/fac/cross_fac/global people, provides access to research, current thinking and practical intercultural resources. ywarriors.com.au, Y Warriors Thai Ltd, provides cross-cultural awareness training for working with Indigenous Australians. UK Diversity Resources at the cdi.net/diversity-resources. bacp.co.uk/events-and-resources/race-and-diversity-resources. cipd.co.uk/knowledge/fundamentals/relations/diversity/facts/het. youtube.com/watch?v=0EIJHPZCO. nationalzedproject.org/key-seed-text/white-privilege-the-invisible-knapsack. learningonScreen.ac.uk/on-demand/index.php/prog/1482817???bcast=130351532. recruitment-international.co.uk. ethnicity-facts-figures.service.gov.uk. blacksouthwestnetwork.org. Asylum seekers, immigrant population. seminar.eu/course-participants/I-m-a-counselor. International. Canada, Social Justice and Diversity. see eric.ca. diversityjobsite.co.uk. diversityinc.com for diversity news. Current articles. facebook.com/diversityinc. twitter.com/diversityinc. instagram.com/diversityinc/?HL=N. youtube.com/channel/UCV805E99OG8XMZF8C4T9Q. Some company diversity websites at diversityinc.com/ask-diversityinc-who-has-the-best-website-for-diversity. jobs.diversityinc.com. pg.com/n_us/index.shtml. pg.com/n_us/company/purpose_people/index.shtml. Kellogg DiversityandInclusion.com. kelloggcompany.com/n_us/home.html. kelloggcompany.com/n_us/corporate-responsibility.html. kelloggcorporateresponsibility.com/workplace/diversity-and-inclusion. kelloggcompany.com/n_us/about-kellogg-company.html. Some company diversity pages at findspark.com/diversity-and-inclusion-career-pages. cbinsights.com/research/team-blog/diversity-tech-stats. sproutsocial.com/careers/diversity. people.groupon.com/ENDD. hubspot.com/jobs/diversity-inclusion. webershandwick.com/who-we-r/diversity. careers.twitter.com/n/diversity. vfc.com/1-vf/diversity-inclusion. espncareers.com/working-here/diversity-inclusion-wellness. take.lyft.com/diversity. pepsico.com/about/diversity-and-engagement. texistemscaros.com/n/about-us/diversity. careers.adidas-group.com/life-here/diversity. careers.livenationentertainment.com/we-celebrate-diversity-inclusion. flippable.org/diversity-equity-inclusion. kickstarter.com/charter. Chapter 3. Diversity is beautiful. The many ways people are different, beautiful, and fascinating, or types of diversity at builtin.com/diversity-inclusion/types-of-diversity-in-the-workplace. Everything is beautiful in its own way. I feel good every time I see a Muslim woman all covered up. Go girl. I turn Bollywood music up real loud, then I dance freely and happily. What a wonderful, wonderful world. It's a small world after all. We're all in this together except when it comes to money, race, ethnicity, age, citizen status, education, income, skills, beliefs, upbringing, cognitive disabilities, physical abilities and disabilities, mental health, neurodiversity, dyspraxia, dyslexia, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, dyscalculia, autistic spectrum, Tourette syndrome, and others. Behavior and diversity, upbringing, family, friends, culture, etc. Personality and thought style. Cultural background. Geographical location. Language, linguistics and accents. Ethnicity. Race. Citizenship status. Family and upbringing. Ideologies. Morals. Social roles. Gender identity. Gender expression. Sex. Sexual orientation. Education. Income. Socioeconomic status. Life experiences. Privilege. Marital status. Parental status. Military experience. Criminal background. Political beliefs. religious and spiritual beliefs, work experiences, skills, supplier diversity info. Supplier diversity means that a company, institution, or organization has a policy to give some of their supply/procurement contracts to minority-owned businesses. Go to a company's website and see if they have a supplier diversity program. Walgreens.com/topic/sr_what_is_supplier_diversity.jsp. bcbsd.com/about/supplier-diversity. Citgo.com/Citgo for your business/supplier information/supplier diversity small business program.jsp. Microsoft.com/about/company information/procurement/diversity/default.msbx. Unionbank.com/global/help/small-business/minority.jsp. Windstream.com/about-us/suppliers-diversity. Diversity training info. Diversity training is the human resources term for educating employees about the fact that we're all different with different baggage, different pasts, different sexual orientations, different colors, different genders, etc. Some of us don't like other people either because we're prejudiced, we don't know them, or we fear them because they are different from us. This fear is sometimes called xenophobia. With diversity training, they sit you down, explain to you that there are all different types of people with different backgrounds. You don't have to like them, but in the workplace you have to live and let live. At the very least, you can't legally discriminate against other people. At the best, you befriend others regardless of who they are. This usually works out for the best because friends can help you when you need help. It's not just the legal part of it. A happy workplace where everybody gets along and respects each other is much better to work in than one filled with hate and bigotry. Encourage people to see it from the other guy's point of view. How would you feel if you were the only Muslim or Indian in a room full of whites? Don't prejudge anyone. Give them a chance. Don't use stereotypes because everybody is an individual. Not all blacks like fried chicken. Not all Indians are drunks. Not all white men are capitalist pigs. Not all Muslims are terrorists. Not all gays are effeminate. There has to be a basic decency and core set of values in the workplace. Having parties and social events is a great way for people to connect to each other. Some of the different types of people are Asian Americans, blacks, disabled people, East Indians, elderly people, fake blondes, fat people, foreign immigrants, gay, lesbian, transgender, Hispanic Americans, Jews, loud salespeople, Muslims, Native Americans, new people, older workers, people who wear glasses, short people, single parents, tall people, techies/nerds, the braggart, the drunk, the gossip, the holy roller, whites, women, young people. Try #658.300 at the library. Tolerance.org. mbda.gov. apa.org/journal/cdp, Cultural Diversity and Ethnic Minority Psychology. SimmonsAssociation.com. BucinasTrainingMedia.com. DiversityDTG.com. PrismDiversity.com. agts-web.com/diversity. amane.org/onsite/diversity, 877-566-9441. bizlibrary.com, diversity training programs. blue-badge.co.uk, disability, equality, and diversity training. bucinastrainingworks.com. diversitybuilder.com/diversity_training.php. diversitybusiness.com. diversitycelebration.com. diversityjobs.com. diversitytraining.com. diversity-training.go.co.uk. diversityuintl.com. diversityworking.com, d2e.com, Diversity Training University International, en.wikipedia.org/wiki/diversity_training, gendertraining.com, grainer.com/1j-diversify.htm, hrc.org/content/navigation menu/work_life/get_inform2/diversity_training/diversity_training_home.htm, hrtrain.com, hubbardandhubbardinc.com/diversity_training1.htm, intercultural.org, interfaced.com, jml-training.com, leanforwardalearning.com, computer-based training programs, management-advantage.com, affirmative action plan development and implementation, mctinstitute.org, memses.com/diversity-training.html, naa.org/fusion/training, ncpc.org/topics/strategy_diversity_training_for_public_safety_personnel_program.php, newtrainingideas.com/diversity-training.html, orp.umd.edu/student/ddcs.html, orlandoward.com/diversity.html, palmyj.com/99_4_4_white.html, managing the diverse organization, paulgerhardt.com/diversity, prismdiversity.com, progroupinc.com, similieberman.com/services.html, trainingabc.com, trainingnewsbuzz.com, trainingvideosdirect.com, voxrve.berkeley.edu/cw73/wipil.html, workplaceanswer.com, diversity magazine websites, equalitymagazines.com. Equality Magazine Publishing produces 4 magazines targeted to the diverse workforce. Along with articles, they offer links to employers who want to hire from a diverse talent pool. The 4 magazines are blackperspective.com, The Black Perspective, wib-i.com, Women in Business, hispanic-today.com, Hispanic Today, veteransenterprise.com, Veterans Enterprise, diversityemployers.com, publisher of the Black Collegian, magazine targeted to recent college graduates as well as more experienced job seekers and professionals. Affirmative action websites / equal employment websites, humanitas.ucsb.edu/a.html, affirmative action and diversity, inform.umd.edu/edrays/topic/diversity, affirmative action resources from the University of Maryland, oaa.org, Americans United for Affirmative Action, gsa.gov/EEO/EEO7b.htm, EEO terms and concepts, from Federal General Services Administration, dol.gov/dole/esa/public/ofcp_org.htm, Employment Standards Administration, Office of Federal Contract Compliance Programs, DOL, office that administers anti-discrimination provisions pertaining to government contractors, EEOC.gov, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, information on laws enforced by the EEOC, gsa.gov/EEO, GSA, Office of Equal Employment Opportunity, dol.gov/esa/public/ofcp_org.htm, Office of Federal Contract Compliance Programs, OFP, Diversity and Affirmative Action websites, eeoc.gov/laws/practices. Can they ask me that question? hrc.org/explore/topic/workplace Human Right Campaign, Workplace, uscis.gov/working-united-states/students-and-exchange-visitors U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, Students and Exchange Visitors, ada.gov, United States Department of Justice Civil Rights Division, Americans with Disabilities Act, dol.gov/WB United States Department of Labor, Women Bureau. .virginia.gov/US Department of Veterans Affairs. EEOC.gov US Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. DiversityWeb.org, DiversityWeb, Resource Hub for Higher Education. APA.org/pub/journal/DHE, Journal of Diversity in Higher Education, APA Journal. DiversityHotwire.com, Diversity Central, Resources for Cultural Diversity at Work. Inform.umd.edu/e-topic/diversity/reference/divdict.html, Diversity Dictionary, a guide to diversity terminology. edchange.org/multicultural, Multicultural Pavilion, for students, teachers, and activists. spsp.org/divprog.htm, SPSP Diversity Programs, for social and personality psychology. Tolerance.org, tolerance.org. Understandingprejudice.org, understandingprejudice.org. ReducingStereotypeThreat.org, Reducing Stereotype Threat. Jigsaw.org, Jigsaw Classroom, a cooperative learning technique. refworks.com/refshare/? site =$5A13333117/RWWS5A13333317/prejudice%20 reduction, prejudice, and conflict reduction reference database. Clinton3.nara.gov/initiative/One America/practices, promising practices, a presidential initiative on race. PartnersAgainstHate.org. Partners Against Hate, Education and Counteraction Strategies. adl.org/education/edu_awod, A World of Difference, Anti-Bias Education and Diversity. Training. CivilRightsMuseum.org, National Civil Rights Museum, Memphis, Tennessee. USDOJ.gov/CRT, Civil Rights Division, U.S. Department of Justice. CivilRights.org, Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights. milk-kpp01.stanford.edu, Martin Luther King, Jr., Research and Education INST. Stanford U. Understandingprejudice.org/readroom/article/affirm.htm, 10 Myths About Affirmative Action. aad.english.ucsb.edu, Affirmative Action and Diversity Project, a web page for research. siop.org/affirmac/siopsrtoc.aspx, Affirmative Action, a review of psychological and behavioral research. feminist.org/other/ccri/siame.html, Affirmative Action Information Center. DiversityBestPractices.com, articles on workplace diversity. They're a professional company that brings diversity into the workplace. There are some free articles there. It looks like everybody is happy and smiling on the website, like that scene at the end of one of the Planet of the Apes movies with humans and apes living together in happy harmony. Diversity websites for school psychologists and others at nasbonline.org/resources-and-podcast/diversity-social-social-competency/diversity-websites. nasbonline.org/career center, career center. nasbonline.org/about-psychology/who-are-school-psychologists, who are school psychologists. nasbonline.org/about-school-psychology/a-career-that-makes-a-difference, a career that makes a difference. nasbonline.org/about-school-psychology/selecting-a-graduate-program, selecting a graduate program. nasbonline.org/x28181.xml, approved graduate programs. nasb-online.org/resources-and-publications/resources-and-podcasts/diversity-and-social-justice, Diversity and Social Justice. Multicultural and Bilingual School Psychology Graduate Programs. cal.org/index.html, the Center for Applied Linguistics, Cal. air.org/project/center-effective-collaboration-and-practice-CECP, the Center for Effective Collaboration and Practice. air.org/project/center-effective-collaboration-and-practice-CECPT, the American Institutes for Research, AIR. manoa.hawaii.edu/co/credi, the Center for Research on Education, Diversity, and Excellence, CREED. colorincolorado.org, Colorin Colorado. readingrockets.org, Reading Rockets. ed.gov/español/bienvenido/es/index.html, Education Resources for Spanish Speakers. ed.gov/español/publicaciones/es/index.html, Publicaciones y Materials. edtrust.org/edtrust, Education Trust. futureofchildren.org, The Future of Children. civilrightsproject.ucla.edu, The Civil Rights Project. edc.org, Education Development Center, EDC. iris.peabody.vanderbilt.edu, The Iris Center. aacld.org, the National Association for the Education of African American Children with Learning Disabilities, NAIACLD. nctsnet.org, the National Child Traumatic Stress Network. ancela.us, National Clearinghouse for English Language Acquisition and Language Instruction Educational Programs. nicwa.org, the National Indian Child Welfare Association, NICWA. NIA.org, the National Indian Education Association. nia.org/history/links.php, website. samhsa.gov/nreppt, National Registry of Evidence-Based Programs and Practices, NREP. newatc.org, the National Urban Alliance for Effective Education, NUA. ed.gov/about/offices/lists/ols/index.html?src=OC, Office of English Language Acquisition. rif.org, Reading is Fundamental. alliance.brown.edu/tdl, Teaching Diverse Learners. awesomelibrary.org/multiculturaltoolkit.html, the toolkit for cross-cultural collaboration. calories.org/edgenewsletter.html, the special Edge newsletter. tolerance.org, Teaching Tolerance. tolerance.org/magazine/responding-to-hate-and-bias-at-school, responding to hate at school. Diversity hate websites. aacomaproject.org, Aacoma Project. aclu.org, ACLU. allianceforBMOC.org, Alliance for Boys and Men of Color. adl.org, Anti-Defamation League, ADL. beam.community, Black Emotional Mental Health Collective, BEAM. blackgirlsmile.org, Black Girl Smile. blacklivesmatter.com, Black Lives Matter. BorisLHensonFoundation.org, the Boris Lawrence Henson Foundation. opef.org/biomm, Brother, You're on My Mind. acalltomen.org, A Call to Men. joincampaignzero.org, Campaign Zero. caaav.org, CAAF Organizing Asian Communities. centerracialjustice.org, Center for Racial Justice in Education. rsuonline.ca/center-for-women-and-trans-people, Center for Women and Trans People, Canada. civilrightsproject.ucla.edu, Civil Rights Project. communitiesagainst-hate.org, Communities Against Hate. defineamerican.com, Define America. embracerace.org, Embrace Race. fireweedcollective.org, Fireweed Collective. From privilegetoprogress.org, From Privilege to Progress. HealingCollectiveTrauma.com, Healing Collective Trauma. HRC.org, Human Rights Campaign. JWI.org, Jewish Women International, JWI. LTYFoundation.org, Lee Thompson Young Foundation. Lionheart.org, the Lionheart Foundation. TheLovelandFoundation.org, Loveland Foundation. Hermana.org, MANA, a national Latina organization. nccc.georgetown.edu/index.php, National Center for Cultural Competence. ncd.gov, National Council on Disability. northeastd.net, National Network to Eliminate Disparities in Behavioral Health. nomas.org, National Organization for Men Against Sexism. nativeconnections.org, Native American Connections. ourselsblack.com, Ourselves Black. preventioninstitute.org, Prevention Institution. raceforward.org, Race Forward. racialequitytools.org/home, Racial Equity Tools. theirdroad.org, The Red Road. thetoolkit.wixsite.com/toolkit, Rochester Racial Justice Toolkit. stopaaphate.org, Stop AAPI Hate. psychiatry.org/psychiatrist/cultural-competency/education/stress-and-trauma, stress and trauma toolkit for treating historically marginalized populations. nmihc.si.edu/learn/talking-about-race, Talking About Race, National Museum of African American History and Culture. Tolerance.org, Teaching Tolerance. whiteawake.org, White Awake. whitenonsenseroundup.com, White Nonsense Roundup. wocninc.org, Women of Color Network.